Update. A mutual friend propositioned my newlywed wife for sex and affair. What's the best way to respond? Original post. So my wife is a bombshell 10 over 10. But more than that, she's an amazing woman. Compassionate, funny, caring, loyal, and awesome. And some of her friendly qualities are often mistaken as flirting or expressing interest. So with a heavy heart, she's now much more guarded when conversing with strangers. With old friends, she's her usual friendly self as they know her. But alas, now one incident has caused her to pull back from interacting freely with friends too. So we just got married last week, and on Sunday night, we hosted a small dinner for a few of our close friends. Now, one of those close friends has had a crush on my wife for a while now. Nothing serious, but she knew and told me immediately, and then cut all unnecessary communication with him. That sucked for her because his wife is a good friend of my wife, and because of his obvious crush, they couldn't meet as often. We thought he would get over it, but on Sunday nights, he cornered my wife for 5 minutes and delivered his love speech about how I had to have her, and now he couldn't sleep knowing that she's married to me. How true love knows no boundaries or rules, love can't be constrained, and it should be free and so on and so forth. She immediately came and told me, but we didn't make a scene as there were other friends there too. Now she's royally pissed. It wants to expose him to all our friend group as he might have done the same thing to others too, or he might in the future. I'm of the opinion that we should cut contact with him but don't do anything more than that. What's the best way forward? Now for the top advice before reading the update. Dude, you obviously tell his wife and then follow her lead with us. As if you just want to sweep this under the rug. At least be a good person and look out for the wife of this scumbag. Who would want to be married to that with some of your friends knowing what kind of a person he is? Come on. True love knows no boundaries or rules. Love can't be constrained and it should be free. Also make sure she's never alone with this creep, and she is aware she should be careful around him. It sounds like he is obsessed and might even have deluded himself in thinking your wife loves him too. Right? This bloke is so clearly off his rocker to have been saying the things he was spouting. Yeah. Someone giving a speech like that, especially a married person, is giving me real bunny boiler alarm bells. His wife needs to know, and your friend circle needs to make sure that she's never left alone with him. P.S. The hope his wife is great. Open and honest relationships are the best. I would 100% in your wife's shoes tell his wife who is her friend because that's obsessive, creepy, and disgusting. It's not cool to just let the other wife be married to this man. Yes, hiding this from her is just gross. She deserves to know exactly who she's married to. A sleazy little creep man. Your wife is right. Tell his wife and everyone on your friend circle. Then kick him loose from your friend circle. He disrespected your wife. Your marriage and his wife by making such a statement. Don't buy the excuse that he was drunk or he was not in his senses. And now for the update. So I got a lot of good advice and some well-deserved criticisms about my behavior too. It was indeed not right for me to take it as lightly as I appeared to do. Believe me, I wanted to fight him, but it would not have solved any issue, only created more. But one thing the majority of the commenters got right was that I should have fully supported her desire to go nuclear on him, and I appreciate the honesty from you guys. So anyways, I went and told her that I am sorry I was not more supportive, and I'm now 100% behind her, even if it means I have to kick his butt. She laughed, and said she has devised a plan of action. She was going to talk to his wife first, and then inform all the women in our friend group as she thought it would be irresponsible for her to ignore his behavior in case he tries. / already tried with anyone else. So she called his wife for lunch today, and she told her. His wife was heartbroken, and I stepped away to give her some freedom to vent. I went out, and came back when my wife messaged me that she had gone. She told me that his wife confessed that it had happened once before too when they lived somewhere else. Apparently, she seemed almost resigned to the fact because she wasn't angry. Rather, she was sad. And when my wife told her that she will be telling other women of his behavior, she didn't protest. My wife has called everyone for lunch on Sunday, and that's when she will tell them. She even feels bad about the wife, but feels it's kind of a moral responsibility to warn everyone. I'm in complete agreement here. That's the update. And I'm going to treat my wife to some homemade pizza tonight since she's so awesome. Yeah, I can make pizza. Lol. Thanks for the suggestion, guys. Backing your wife is the right move. And your wife handled it like a champ. Telling his wife in private and even letting her know she's going to tell the other women in the group. Good update. Sounds like your wife is a 10 on the outside and at least a 12 on the inside. So glad you took the advice to support her 100%. I hope you will continue to do so. Best of luck. Oh, I love moderately happy endings. And I love it when OPs actually listen to the advice given to them and it all works out. I only say moderately because I feel so bad for his wife. I hope she'll finally work up the courage to leave him. Next story. Update. Found out my best friend's girlfriend is hitting on my fiancé. Original post. My fiancé, male 28, and I, female 26, have a beach vacation coming up. It was supposed to be us, my sister and her husband. Circumstances changed and they won't be joining us, but their tickets are non-refundable. So we decided to invite my brother-in-law's brother Nate, male 27, who has also been my best friend since we were toddlers, and his girlfriend Kathy, female 27. We are all very close and hang out almost every week. We all have a group chat for the trip, and Kathy and I discuss girly stuffs privately. Last week, Kathy sent my fiancé some lingerie and bikini pictures, asking for a suggestion in his private chat. Fiancé assumed she sent it to him accidentally instead of me, and told her that. To which she said she wanted a man's opinion. And my fiancé said he didn't really have any opinion, and she should ask me or her boyfriend. He then showed me the messages when we both got home from work. We both thought it was weird and just moved past it. Side note, she never sent me anything asking for my opinion, even though a couple days later I asked for her opinion on some dresses. On Sunday, Nate and Kathy came to our house for dinner and to discuss our upcoming trip. Everything went great. I got a video call from my sister and brother-in-law and I was talking to them in the balcony, and Nate came to say hi to his brother. According to my fiancé, when Nate left the room, Kathy brought up the pictures and was asking him his opinion and even showed him pictures of her in lingerie, and some of them were very revealing. Fiancé was cornered by her in the kitchen where he was clearing up some dishes. I called him from the balcony to participate in the video call since my sister had some news. This was when he was able to get away from her. If it's relevant, she was a bit drunk. My fiancé told me this after they left, and I am pissed at her. We both felt like all this happened too fast, and there weren't really any other signs. He also asked me to look through their chat to see if he was oblivious to her or something. There wasn't really much correspondence between them, except the occasional confirming of plans. I don't really know how to approach this with Nate and Kathy. I don't really want her on this trip if she's going to act like this. And also, fiancé is not at all comfortable with the idea. Nate is like a brother to me. I love him, and I don't want this to destroy our friendship. Also, given the situation, he deserves a lot better. So guys, what should I do? Now for the top advice before reading the update. You have to talk to Nate. Show him the text messages. There's no two-way about it. Should we talk to them both or only to Nate first? It's a tricky situation. But as your relationship is with Nate, so I would say talk to just him. You and your fiancé, start off by saying you're sorry to be the bearer of bad news. Tell him you didn't know how to go about approaching him on this, but you feel he needs to know and the situation is making things uncomfortable for you and your fiancé, and then just hand him the phone. Just be honest about it. It's going to be a mess no matter what, but it'll be shadier if you don't tell them. We are definitely going to bring it up. I don't want her to turn things around and blame my fiancé. I know Nate is going to be hurt, but I want to minimize it as much as possible. Your fiancé should just straightforward tell her, listen, this is all awkward. I'd expect her to gaslight as well, but you can back him up. Things will take care of themselves after the confrontation, if at all she's weird. We are supposed to leave for the trip on Saturday. We all have work till Friday. I don't know how to make time for confrontation. They work opposite shifts, so that's an issue too. I don't know who I should talk to first. Thanks for the advice. We are both taking afternoon off and are going to meet Nate tomorrow for lunch. He works night shift. Told him not to tell Kathy anything as it's about the personal family stuff. Didn't tell him that fiancé would be there too. So hopefully he won't tell her anything. Do you still have the pictures as evidence? Do not go with her on the trip. She's trying to make the moves on your fiancé. Yes, we plan on showing him the pictures. They have been together for about 4 years, but we all know each other since we were kids, except my fiancé. And now for the update. Some of you wanted an update, so here it goes. My fiancé and I took the afternoon off work to meet with Nate, best friend, for lunch yesterday. Fiancé was running a bit late, so I reached the restaurant first. Nate and I were catching up, and he talked about how he misses hanging out just the two of us like when we were younger. I felt a bit guilty lying to him, so I told him fiancé was joining in sometime as well. He started thanking me for inviting him on a trip. Apparently, due to their conflicting schedules, Nate and Kathy weren't spending much time together, and their relationship was tense. He said that this trip would be the best thing for them, and he was really excited. Fiancé arrived at the tail end of this conversation, and I felt so sad for Nate. I was almost ready to forgo the conversation altogether. We basically apologized to him, and I told him that fiancé had something to say. Fiancé told him about the messages and what happened in the kitchen. Nate was in disbelief. Shock? But he was very quiet. He asked if he had the messages, and fiancé showed him. Then Nate said, "Now it makes sense." We were confused. It asked what he was talking about. Apparently when they left, Kathy was pretty drunk. And whole drive home, Kathy was mumbling things like nobody wants me, /likes me, /loves me, etc. In the last couple days after the incident, she was acting strange the little time they spent together. We told him we are there for him, obviously whatever he decides, but that we don't feel comfortable having Kathy on the trip, but he's still welcome. He said he would be talking to Kathy and letting us know, but they won't be joining us on the trip. Tonight before work, Nate stopped by our house and told us that he broke up with Kathy. He said he found some things but wasn't ready to talk about it yet. Since they used to live together, she couldn't move out anywhere immediately, so Nate will be staying at our place for a while. Also, both fiancé and I got an apology text from Kathy. So, I guess that's it. We are not really in the mood now for the trip, but maybe it would be a good way to put this all behind. It might be selfish, but I'm just grateful that Nate and I's friendship is still going strong, and that he trusts us to help him through the stuff he's going through. Thank you to everyone for their advice. I think you all should still go on that trip. Y'all should let homewrecker wreck your plans too. Bring your friend. It would suck for him to be alone. Yes, that's what my fiancé and I were talking about just now. We don't want him to be alone. I guess it's time for another confrontation to make him agree to come with us, and maybe bring some other friend, so he won't feel like the third wheel, because that was his argument. If he comes, make sure that you have activities planned, so that everyone isn't sitting around moping, and that you and your fiancé have some time alone as well. Your fiancé was basically harassed and needs a break as well. This trip was actually planned as a romantic getaway, but we are going to move some things around and include non-couple/group activities. Fiancé and I will have time for us as well. Nate loves photography, so there will be something to do for him at all time. Good for Nate. It's a crappy situation, but it'll be better for it in the end. It speaks highly of your friendship that he trusts you so completely. He is an amazing person. I just hope everything works out for him and he's happy ASAP. OMG, if you do deliberately send underwear pictures to someone and they immediately respond with, "I think this was supposed to be for my girlfriend," wrong number, then clearly they're not going to be into instigating an affair with you. So why would you push it? Kathy not only had severe issues with her insecurity, she also really wasn't smart about being unfaithful. Now for the last story. My boyfriend 29 male kissed my sister 24 female while I, 28 female, was asleep in another room with our baby. I, 28 female, have been with my partner 29 male for 4 years now. We have a daughter together, 1 female, and we also have partial care for a son from a previous relationship, 6 male. Recently, he and I moved in with my family, my mother and sister 24 female, to save for a house deposit. We have been there for about 6 months now. On Friday night, I had gone to bed with my daughter while my sister and my partner stayed up drinking and talking. He came in to check on us periodically throughout the evening. I thought everything was normal, until yesterday morning. My sister, who had recently come out of an awful relationship, started telling me that she thought my partner sometimes behaved horribly towards me. It's worth noting she has hinted at this in the past, but she's never told me to get rid of him before now. Thinking this was strange, I called my partner and asked him if he could think of a reason she would be so angry with him. He danced around it for a bit, and then he told me that he and my sister had done cocaine together, which is a betrayal in itself because he knows my views on this, particularly around our daughter. And then they shared a kiss. He said that it didn't go further than that. When I spoke to my sister, she said that he tried to force himself on her. I don't think he would have done that, but I can't believe he tried it on with her. My sister is playing the victim hardcore, and she's telling me to leave him, and now my mother doesn't want him in her house. I'm staying with a friend right now, but my boyfriend, my sister, and mother are all blowing up my phone. He is incredibly apologetic. He cried and gave me flowers. I don't know what to believe. Both of their stories keep changing. Despite everything, I do love him, and I'm strongly considering taking him back. Guys, what should I do? If their stories keep on changing, it could be more than a kiss. Not sure if it matters if/when/how they change. There's no way of getting around the fact, assuming these things are true, that things happened and were hidden from OP. Would it matter who brought this substance? No, he did them. Violation of trust. Would it matter who initiated a kiss? Not really, it takes two. Violation of trust. Would it matter whether you were asleep, outside, running errands, etc.? No. That you were with your child makes it worse, but the facts don't change. Would it matter if they went further than a kiss? Not really, unless your relationship boundaries are such that a kiss would be permissible. Violation of trust. OP, I think you should focus on the fact that your trust was and now, as stories change continues, to be violated. Not in the surrounding details that keep changing, or in context that frankly isn't at the center of this. OP, the reality of what you presented is that they did drugs. They kissed, at a minimum. That doesn't seem likely to change. If you wish to forgive one or both, if you wish to take one or both back into your life, that's up to you. Aside from the situation now, why did your sister think he's acting horribly towards you? For me, the worst thing in this situation is not the kiss, but the coke. It's your mother's home, and you were there with your toddler. Why the heck does he feel he needs to do coke there with your sister? And he did that knowing you wouldn't like it. For me, that's a big red flag. And if I were you, I would consider leaving him for that. Or giving him the opportunity to go to couples therapy together so he can show he want to work on him and his relationship. I think she thinks he is horrible because he can sometimes be bossy and condescending. I call him out on it in private, and we discuss it and move on. I have already mentioned couples therapy to him. He seemed receptive.
Am I the a-hole? My wife became emotionally abusive since giving birth. She topped it off by cheating. Now she's begging me to reconsider. I, 28 male, have been married to my wife, 27 female, for 2 years, together for 4. 14 months ago, we had our first baby. She hasn't gone back to work, and I have been the sole breadwinner. Her choice. Since she gave birth, my wife has become a nightmare to deal with. She has been irritable, angry at me for the smallest reasons, and constantly complaining about everything. Somehow, everything is my fault. All she does is hold the baby all day, even when he doesn't need to be held, and scroll through her phone, while everything else is my responsibility. We haven't had sex for over a year and a half, and whenever I try to address it, she lashes out at me. Even though I'm the only one working and I do all the housework, I'm still insensitive and don't care about her. I didn't even bring up sex until 3 months postpartum. I was basically her emotional punching bag. I tried to get her to therapy and address her behavior, but all I got in return was more verbal abuse. I hated our marriage. I wanted to end it, but I was scared of the idea of co-parenting. The social backlash of ending a marriage with a child involved, and if I'm honest, a small part of me was hoping that somehow things would get better. Well, last month, she made it a lot easier to end things. She told me she was going to a bar with her friends and came home at 4 a.m., drunk. As soon as she fell asleep, I snooped through her phone and found texts between her and a random guy implying that she went to a hotel room with him. I was almost relieved when I saw them. I could finally walk away from this miserable marriage without guilt or regret. The first thing I did was take a DNA test for the baby. He is mine. As soon as the results came back, I informed my wife that I was aware of her infidelity and that our marriage was over. She broke down crying, begged for my forgiveness, and tried to use every excuse in the book: postpartum depression, past trauma, alcohol. She promised to make it up to me, said she would do whatever I wanted, and that she didn't want our family to break apart. But I wasn't having any of it. I already hated this marriage, and the infidelity was just the nail in the coffin. We still live together, and she has been begging me to reconsider, promising me everything under the sun. But I have no intention of reconsidering, and I told her she is not allowed to speak to me anymore. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Postpartum is addressed by therapy, not with adultery. I'd honestly start separation proceedings. Just make sure you kept screenshots of her texts. I already have the screenshots. Cheating after denying me sex for over a year and a half and lashing out at me for even trying to address it is straight up vile. She couldn't care less about me when she did it. There is no coming back, no matter what she does. I think it's best you divorce. Her behavior towards you is appalling. I agree with Nat. You need to start divorce proceedings. You said it yourself. You were relieved when you saw she cheated because it was a way out. Tell her that. Also, ask why she wouldn't have sex with you for a year and a half, but some random drunk at a bar winks at her, and she's off to a hotel. Obviously, her friends wouldn't tell you, so if you stay with her, it's on the honor system, and she doesn't seem honorable. She's scared because you're her bankroll, nothing else. Not the a-hole. Red line. No mistake. She knew what she was doing. She let a strange D in, but not yours for a year. Not a husband on the planet is going to forgive/reconcile with a wife who does that. Get a female lawyer, get at least 50% custody, and go find a good, loyal, faithful new wife/stepmom. Just curious, why a female lawyer? I can't speak to their logic here, but in my experience, women lawyers will fight for you harder than a male lawyer. I've had 4 lawyers for custody issues. Fired the first 2, the third retired, and so did the 4th, but after my kid turned 18. Lawyers 3 and 4 were women, and they got me much better custody agreements than 1 and 2 even bothered trying 4. The 4th ended up getting me full custody. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not allowing my son to go to his paternal grandparents' anniversary barbecue because his father's stepchildren will be there? I, 33 female, have a 7-year-old son with my ex, 35 male. Almost a year ago, I was given full custody of our son, and my ex was awarded supervised visitation. The reason for this was the abuse our son suffered at the hands of his father's stepchildren, 12 and 13. This was a very difficult battle to win. It started 3 years ago when my son came home from his father's house, and my ex announced he had gotten remarried over the weekend. He then asked me to pay half toward the clothes he had bought for our son for the wedding because they got ruined. Of course I didn't pay, but I did ask why he expected me to cover half and how the clothes got ruined. He said he felt we should split the cost of big items like that, but refused to explain what had happened. Later that evening, when I was bathing my son, I noticed some bruises on him, which made me suspicious. He mentioned his arms hurt and that the big kids had done it. A few weeks later, my ex called me and asked me to come and calm our son down. He said our son was hysterical and he had been unable to calm him. When I got to his house, our son was still crying and wanted to come home with me. My ex's wife said one of her kids had accidentally stepped on my son's foot, and my son got scared. But I could hear one of her kids in the background calling my son names and saying they wanted to shut him up. Over time, things got worse. There were more bruises and more days where my son would get very upset at his dad's house. I spoke to my ex, who said his stepkids were struggling with their mom's remarriage and the loss of their dad 4 years prior, making it difficult for them. He admitted he and our son weren't their favorite people, but insisted it wasn't a big deal. I decided to document these incidents and injuries anyway, because it was clear to me that my ex was not concerned, and our son could be at risk in his home. As my son got older, he started verbalizing more about what was going on. The stepkids treated him terribly, and weren't ashamed to be rough with him. He was getting pushed, grabbed, and experiencing an increasing number of accidents. I made a few calls to CPS, and they started offering resources. This ticked off my ex, but I was worried about my son. The verbal incidents weren't really on CPS's radar, but the physical abuse was documented, and some of my ex's family had witnessed things. A few even sent me detailed accounts of what had happened. The incident that led to me getting full custody was when my ex and his wife left the 3 kids home alone for hours. The stepkids dragged my son out of the house and locked him in the garage, where all the dangerous tools were stored. My ex tried to fight to retain custody, but CPS and the judge agreed it was not safe for our son. The reason he only gets supervised visits is that his stepkids are not allowed to be around my son. My ex's parents are celebrating their wedding anniversary next month and want my son to be there. However, my ex and his family are invited and will be attending. I told them I could let them do something with my son another time, but if the stepkids are there, he won't be. They, along with my ex's oldest brother, feel like I'm being unfair, too strict, and not trusting them to keep my son safe. But they didn't in the past. I know that for a fact. Am I the a-hole? I would be honest and tell them, no, I don't trust you to keep him safe. You didn't in the past, and per CPS, those kids are not allowed around my kid. CPS documenting those incidents shows it's not just a personal issue, it's a legal one. She has every right to protect her son from further harm. She has more than a right. She has a legal mandate from the courts to protect her son. Knowingly sending him to go to the party where the offenders will be could actually cause the mom to lose custody, as well as she would be violating the court order. No one wants the child in foster care, which could absolutely happen if she sends him and another incident occurs. You are asking permission to enforce a court order that you fought tooth and nail to get, and which, if you did not enforce it, could get your son taken away from you. I want you to think about that for a minute. I have thought about it. A part of me has asked if I should try to find another compromise, but then I think the one I offered should be enough if they wanted to celebrate with my son. Sometimes I feel bad he doesn't get to have more of a relationship with the rest. The stepkids I don't feel badly about, and there's zero guilt there. But I know he has grandparents and aunts and uncles and cousins he doesn't see right now either. Those grandparents and aunts and uncles should have stepped in to protect him if they cared so much. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not supporting my brother's wife while she fights cancer? My brother's wife, 40 female, recently found out she has cancer and has started chemo. They both have great jobs, 3 young children, a beautiful home, and live a pretty desirable lifestyle. Her job has allowed her to take the next year off for her medical emergency. My brother is still working but has been missing a lot of work to support his wife. The other day, he asked me for financial assistance because the cost of maintaining their lifestyle is more than they can afford without both of their full incomes. I can afford to help them, and they would most likely help me if the roles were reversed and I was in need. However, all of my savings are currently invested in stocks that are meant to be my children's inheritance when I eventually pass. The problem I'm having is that they have not made any financial sacrifices, yet they're asking me to cover their expenses, with the promise of eventually paying me back. All of their children still have trust funds and college savings, some of which I personally contributed to. They continue to spend thousands of dollars per month on sports and activities for their family. They still own stocks and have well-funded retirement accounts, as well as business investments. I am retired with a low income but have significant savings that I have invested for my children. Is it unreasonable for me to expect them to trim the fat on their lifestyle and liquidate their own investments before asking me to contribute mine? I feel like an a-hole, but it seems like they're using the pity of the situation to their advantage. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. They're asking you to make sacrifices they aren't making. They may not understand that your situation is no better than theirs, and that you'd have to make cuts they haven't even considered in order to help them. I'd try having an honest conversation about that before accusing them of playing the pity card. His reasoning to me was that they didn't want their hardship to affect their children's normal lives. But they're asking me to make sacrifices that could greatly affect my children's future? I have not yet told him that I won't help him because it feels really wrong for me to do so, but it's really frustrating me. I don't feel comfortable risking my children's inheritance and facing the tax repercussions of pulling my investments when you guys won't consider doing so with your own portfolios. Seems pretty reasonable to me. Not the a-hole. Your brother and his wife should sell their stocks and investments and reduce spending before asking you for help. Your money is for your needs. That's exactly what I'm going to say. To be honest, they don't want their situation to affect their kids. but they're fine with it affecting OP? They expect OP to make sacrifices so they don't have to? Yeah, no, that's unfair. Hey, OP, just tell them no, you can't afford it. You're retired now and living on a fixed income. If they don't understand, that's their problem, no doubt about that. Not the a-hole. Sit down and explain all this to him. He needs to hear it. If they had already cut everything and were at risk of being homeless, I could understand. But they don't want to cash things in because of taxes. You would have to pay taxes on assets you liquidated to help them. They can dip into the college funds or sell some stocks to cover their chosen lifestyle. Unfortunately, I think he's going to take this as a personal attack. He's got that big brother attitude. He'll have to get over it. It's crazy for him to expect you to make sacrifices they haven't made. I understand he doesn't want his children's lives to be affected, but that's the reality of cancer. It's unrealistic to expect everything to remain the same. What about the days when no one can take them to their sports because his wife is sick and he needs to work? What if his wife doesn't beat it? Has he considered that the children would rather spend time with their mom instead of being on a soccer field or whatever sport? Not the a-hole. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not covering for my co-worker with a sick kid, resulting in her being fired? I, 25 female, work as a hospice nurse for a home hospice company. All of the nurses are salaried, and we make our own hours for the most part. This is a desirable job for nurses wanting to get out of working 12-hour shifts at hospitals. It's especially desirable for parents. We all have to take turns being on call overnight, roughly once every 2 weeks. This is mandatory. Almost all of my coworkers have kids, everyone except me. In the 3 years I've been here, I have asked my coworkers for virtually nothing. I rarely get sick, and I handle my responsibilities. I have never called out of an on-call shift. My boss has a 3 strikes rule. If you have to call out of your on-call shift 3 times within a year, you get fired. No exceptions. However, if you trade your on-call shift, it doesn't count against you. It only counts against you if our boss has to mandate someone to cover the shift. I have watched my boss fire several people over this in the few years I've worked here. We got a new co-worker, let's call her Mandy, about 4 months ago. She has already called out of her on-call shift twice, so her track record isn't great. Apparently, her husband is active duty and deploys often, and she has 4 kids and struggles to find a babysitter. This past Monday was Mandy's on-call shift again. She sent out an email begging for someone to take it because her babysitter got sick. I offered to trade with her if she worked Valentine's Day for me. Win-win, right? I get Valentine's Day off to go on a date, and Mandy gets her shift covered and avoids getting fired. Mandy said her husband was coming back on Thursday, and they wanted to go out for Valentine's Day. Apparently, their marriage was heading toward divorce, and they really needed this night. She asked if she could cover a shift for me next month instead. I said no chance. She tried guilting and shaming me, so eventually I just said, "Screw it, you're on your own." She tried to backpedal, but I said no. She pleaded with both me and our boss, but Mandy got fired. I can tell my boss and some of our coworkers think I'm an a-hole, since I had the free time to cover her shift and don't have kids or any major obligations. Am I the a-hole? Edit. Her kid got her babysitter sick, and the babysitter canceled. Both were sick, so she had to stay home with her child. Not the a-hole. You did offer to cover her shift, and she refused the entirely reasonable compromise that you offered in exchange. All those co-workers could have covered it, and your boss is blaming you for the boss enforcing their own policy on someone who absolutely violated that policy. Nobody here is right except UOP. Her emergencies are not yours. Yeah, if date was really that significant, going out on Valentine's Day exactly shouldn't matter. Plenty of people do holidays, not even just Valentine's Day, on days leading up or after. I can't imagine someone coming back from deployment would want to go out the very next day. Even with a couple hours difference, jet lag would suck, and Saturday would have been the better option. If their marriage failing or not depends on going out on Valentine's Day and not another day so badly, their marriage is screwed either way. She could have had her Valentine's on Saturday. A simple one-day shift, and she could have made the deal with you and kept her job. Not the a-hole. And making the choice to have kids means the responsibility to take care of those kids. It is never someone else's problem. Seriously, and quite frankly, I would rather celebrate a day later when places are not so packed and prices aren't jacked up just because it's Valentine's Day. Besides, if her marriage is failing, going out on Valentine's Day instead of a regular Saturday isn't going to change anything. And I imagine getting fired is going to do more damage to the marriage than missing a random holiday due to the added stress of now being down to one income. The coworker didn't think things through, and that's on no one but her. Besides, she had already called out twice in 4 months of employment while knowing about the 3 strikes rule. And it's not even that they can't call out on a normal day. It's only on the on-call nights once every 2 weeks. So, you figure in 4 months she's worked there. Let's say it's been 18 weeks. That means she has called out for 2 of her 9 on-call shifts. The girl was going to be fired eventually anyway.